if you look at cabinet meeting announcements, which are held every week, there's a recurring and continuous reference to the Arab Peace Initiative as being the only viable way to get peace and a Palestinian state with its capital in East Jerusalem. So I will not speculate on what that means, but that is where the position of the kingdom is. I think the issue now, as before, is where Israel stands in all this. It's not the Arab side that has been not coming forward with peace towards Israel. It's the Israelis who have rejected the Arab outreach to them that you mentioned through the Arab Peace Initiative. And unfortunately, I think Mr. Netanyahu particularly has I don't know how to put it. He has definitely been the main obstacle, if you like, not only for the Arab countries to come towards some kind of overall agreement with Israel, but also for the Israeli people themselves. As you know, the Israeli society now is turning more and more towards the right, if that is the right conception. The extremist positions of the settlers and so on. And Netanyahu has been the main appealer to these forces in Israeli society. And we've seen the more reasonable, if you like, as they're described in Israel, peaceniks, you know, sidelined politically and socially in Israel. So as far as Saudi Arabia is concerned, and I've written about this in the past, and government officials have expressed the view that the kingdom is committed to the Arab Peace Initiative and will not change that position until there is a Palestinian sovereign state with its capital in East Jerusalem. So we have not moved from that position, in spite of what Mr. Netanyahu is throwing, either through innuendo or through, you know, smirk winks at particularly Western media, that there are contacts between Israel and Saudi Arabia, etc. So this is where the kingdom stands on that issue. Well, I hope there won't be major change as far as the relationship between the two countries. The two countries have had a long-standing relationship and they benefited from each other. And Mr. Biden is not ignorant of the importance of the relationship. He was vice president to Mr. Obama for 8 years. Before that, he was senator and knows the kingdom as much as any other public official in America is aware of. So, and what we've seen from writings or statements that he made, that he recognizes the importance of the relationship between the two countries. There may be a change in complexion, if you like, between the kingdom and a Biden administration, but I can't foresee any major strategic shift in that relationship, in spite of what is being parlayed by either media or some so-called experts on the Middle East. I think for things to improve, there has to be a change in function on a worldwide basis. And I think here the role of the United Nations, particularly the Security Council, is an important element to get it to improve its conduct. We've seen in United Nations Security Council resolutions if you look at Palestine, if you look at Yemen, if you look at Libya, if you look at Syria, these are resolutions that the world committed itself to through the United Nations Security Council, and yet nobody within that circle of influence is imposing implementation of those resolutions. So we have the verbal and the talked about effect of those resolutions, but not the implementation of those resolutions. So unless and until these issues can be resolved through the United Nations process, much of what is happening today, I think, will continue to happen. And we may even have new issues that arise, and people who are supposed to implement these resolutions don't implement them, and those they're supposed to be implemented against feel that they don't need to implement them. I'll give you an example. The arms embargo on the Houthis in the Yemen, Resolution 2216 of the Security Council imposed that embargo, and yet Iran continues to supply the Houthis with weapons and other support and so on, willy-nilly, and nobody is doing anything about that. The arms embargo on Libya, for example, and yet here we see Turkey not only providing weapons and support for some of the factions there, but also sending militias to Libya to fight for them, not for the Libyans. So that is something that has to be resolved. Of course, if you talk about Palestine, resolutions 242, 338, and other subsequent resolutions are equally neglected and not adhered to by Israel. So that has to be fixed for us to be able to solve our issues.